I've had agents. Well, I had one guy, and he's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to door knock a lead. I wouldn't want somebody just showing up at my house.
Well, you're not a
And
final expense client. That's probably
yeah,
why.
I told the guy, I said, if you don't go out and work, people are going to be showing up at your house.
You will be.
Yeah.
There we go. Hopefully the dog doesn't bark. Nobody delivers any packages today. The rain stops and the thunder holds back because we're recording another episode Friday, January 13th, I think. I don't know what date it'll be out there, but mark that on the calendar, the day this was recorded. So Adam, I got a question to open today. It's not on our notes or our rundown. Are you a Dunkin' or a Starbucks person when you're in the field?
Whatever I can find, whether it's Dunkin' or Starbucks. Honestly, I usually just bring a mug with me, or like a Yeti, and I'll fill up my coffee before I leave the house. And I'm usually sipping on coffee all day when I'm out running leads.
So you're
So
saying when you commute out of the metropolis you live in Illinois, all the millions of homes around you in that metropolis, there's no Dunkin' or Starbucks?
I mean, there's both, but I
Okay.
just when I'm out working leads, I don't like stopping for anything. I like just going and going, and I don't like to get distracted. I'm always focusing on my next step. The next house I'm going to, kind of focusing on where am I going to go from there. If that person's not home, or if I do have time to sit with them, who am I going to have time to go see next?
Mhm.
Just a lot of that stuff. I don't like I hate stopping. I rarely even stop for lunch. Like my wife gets mad at me. The other day I went like the whole day without eating. I left the house. I had an early appointment. I was just nonstop all day. And but like I said, when I'm out in the field, I'm doing whatever I can to make money, and I'm not making money if I'm stopping to get coffee or lunch. So maybe I'll start packing a lunch.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be the way to go. That way, when I'm driving from one stop to the next, I can still eat something. But no, I like to stay focused,
Mhm.
and I think that's why I've been pretty successful out in the field, because, like I said, I'm always kind of focusing on my next move.
I think a lot of agents, or I'm going to say this differently. Before I've done any ride alongs, I learned early on after a couple failed ride alongs to give some rules to the road. And I don't mean that in a mean way or a cocky way. I mean that so the person has proper expectations on what we're going to do for the next 10 hours. One of them was pack a lunch because we're not stopping for lunch. Like there's not going to be this hour-long break at an Applebee's or a diner. Like this is a work day. So my lunch is coming out of my book bag that I packed at some point throughout the day. Um, we're not stopping for coffee once we start the day. I make it to a Dunkin' before I make it to the field. And once the clock says 10 a.m., there's no stopping unless you desperately have to go to the bathroom. So, and I tell them when they're in the home to watch and not talk. And I don't mean that in a mean way. Adam, have you ever done a ride along where your ride along tried to step into the sales process?
Yeah, I mean, I've taken people back to their cars in the past if they've gotten in the way. Um, well, one story, I had a guy once. Yeah, one thing I kind of look at when you're training an agent as, well, first thing, you're gonna probably recruit that person and get them contracted with a few different companies.
Hmm.
You're probably gonna have a good conversation over the phone, but then from there, when you're out field training, I almost look at field training as like a extended interview,
Oh my gosh, yes.
because once they're contracted and once they're good to go, they become a lot more comfortable around you,
Hmm.
and they'll tell you stuff that maybe they wouldn't have told you in your initial conversation with them.
Hmm.
And because now it's just like you're their friend, and that's fine. I have good relationships with my agents, but at the end of the day, too, I don't want to waste my time.
Hmm.
And I was out with a guy one time, and he got real comfortable. And I told him, this is not a 9 to 5 job. We have to work after 5 o'clock. There's people that work
Hmm.
during the day. The only time we can reach them is at nighttime. Well, I usually, I mean, I'll probably be home by 5 o'clock. I don't like to stay out real late, he says. If anything, maybe I'll get on the phone and I'll set up appointments at night. And then I said, well, we also work on Saturdays. People that are working during the week, the only time you can reach them is on Saturday.
Yeah.
And and he said, well, I work on my yard on the weekends. I'll be out in the yard on Saturday. I'm not going to have time to go out in the field and see people on Saturday.
Mhm.
And then we had like maybe an hour to kill. We had an appointment. I think it was probably at like 3 o'clock, and it was 2 o'clock, and I still had a stack of leads. I'm like, well, let's go door knock a few leads. He's like, why don't we stop at McDonald's and just have some coffee and sit for about an hour before that appointment? I drove the
What?
guy back to his car and told him, I don't think this is for you. So, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
but and
Mhm.
like you said, even in the house, yeah, I tell agents all the time, you're here to learn, sit there and watch. I don't
Mhm.
need your help.
Yeah, like, if I
So,
involve you in the warm-up process, that's fine, like, don't
yeah,
sit there awkwardly and don't say a word. If they speak
yeah,
to you, speak back and then redirect the conversation to me, but don't actually engage in the sales process. I had a ride along, and after this ride along, everyone after that got the rules of the road. She shows up, and we're knocking doors in Kensington, Philadelphia, like, it doesn't get more hood. It's honestly dangerous. I don't really work there much anymore. It's not a good spot to be. You have to have your street smarts on, your eyes
yeah.
watching, and your job. And we're knocking the door. Not going to knock on the door because then the dog would bark. And I kid you not, and maybe I'm a little guilty of this here and there. She's sitting there at the door like this, like on her phone. And I'm like, you need to stop. Like, we're not in an area where we can't be paying attention to what we're doing. This is
Yeah.
dangerous. Um, and then later on, we're knocking a door. We're in an apartment building, and I'm going toe to toe with the person to try to get in the home because I'm either getting in your home or I'm getting kicked out. Like, we're not having a middle ground kind of an approach. And I didn't realize it until after the door was slammed in my face. This individual had already walked away and was halfway down the hallway in this apartment building. And we finally catch up in the elevator, and I say to the person, you realize you're the reason we didn't get into that home? And they're like, "What? Like, you walked away. You ruined it. Like, thank you." That, I mean, maybe you don't realize that sometimes it gets a little edgy, but we're trying to get something done here. And then it just kept going. Like, eventually they ended up back in their car, but we're in a presentation later on in the day. Good working class family. The guy had a job. The lady was a little strange. Like, good opportunity here. They had a term policy. I was going to show them whole life. They had a bank account. Like, we're all in the right spot here. And the funny part of the story is the lady just would not, the wife wouldn't engage in the presentation. Whatever. The husband's the one handling the business. We're going back and forth. We're moving through the process. She's sitting on a couch further away in the home where you can see her, but she can't see you. And every so often, she'll just holler out some nonsense. We don't want it. He absolutely wants it. Like, we're really into this process. Tell him we're not interested. It's like a reel of objections just playing in the background for you to be ignored. Tell him come back later. I don't know if she was even fully there to understand what she was saying, but we just kept talking and we signed the application. And I walked over to her with the 50-page Transamerica application paper app back in the day. And she signs it. We leave. It's like 2,500 AP. It's a good quality sale. And we're walking back to the car. And this person says to me, I can't believe you did that. Did what? I just helped them with perfectly good insurance that to this day they both still have. And this person just didn't get it. It wasn't for them. Went back to Target, left them at their car, and that was the last time I saw her.
Well, I know we talked about this last week too, that this business is just not for everybody. It just isn't. I think it takes a certain type of person, certain type of personality. Uh, I and I don't like setting up appointments. I hate being on the phone unless I'm talking to an agent.
Mhm.
I like just taking my leads and going out and door knocking them. I just feel, maybe it's a mindset thing, but I just feel like people, they screen their calls, they don't answer their phone if they don't recognize a number. It's worse now than I feel like ever with
Mhm.
that. And I just I've had agents. Well, I had one guy and he's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to door knock a lead. I wouldn't want somebody just showing up at my house.
Well, you're not a
And
final expense client. That's probably
yeah,
why.
I told the guy, I said, if you don't go out and work, people are going to be showing up at your house.
You will be.
Yeah. So
How many failed final expense final expense agents eventually become final expense clients?
yeah, you wonder. You wonder. You know, again, at the end of the day, so much of this is it's mindset, it's work ethic. Uh, yeah, maybe you got to get out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I see, there's people that show up at my house and I don't care. I mean, I get it. To me, if someone is showing up trying to sell me something, I mean, it shows me that that person wants to go out and work and make money. Like we have like a neighborhood Facebook group and people are like, "Oh, watch out, there's someone coming down the street to sell you something." And to
Nice.
me, I'm like, "Great. I'm going to give him my business card. I'm going to try to recruit this guy."
Yeah.
Because I mean, to me, it just shows me that the guy's out there willing to work and willing to get out there and make money.
I
So,
think
and
it's
to me, that's a rare thing to
so
find
true.
these days sometimes.
I think it's important that we at some point during our time involve ourselves in a sales process. Like we
Hey,
get so used
sorry. Hey, Chris, sorry. Hold on a minute. We'll edit this out. Let me let this dog out because I don't want
All
to
right.
hear a dog barking in the back of our video. All right. We are going good too.
Yeah, it's all right. It's sometimes the dog barks. I listen to a Sirius XM show all the time on their baseball channel. And I didn't realize for the longest time that majority of the hosts on Sirius XM were hosting from home. Like they have a
Hmm.
studio, they've got their remote stuff, but they're not in a studio like downtown in Chicago or Philadelphia. And one day, it's Mike Farron and his host. Oh my gosh, the name escapes me at this moment. He actually lives in Maryland, nonetheless. It's over here. Um,
Okay.
Former GM of the Orioles, and it'll come to me in a second. Jim Duquette. And all of a sudden, you hear a bunch of barking in the background on a Sirius XM radio show. He's like, "Damn it! I told the UPS guy don't knock on the door." And it just happens. Like it's
Yeah.
even on a live professional radio from home. Sometimes it happens.
It's crazy. I listen to sports radio a lot. Like when there's like a bad snowstorm now or
Mhm.
something, these guys are doing this from their house.
Yeah.
It's crazy. There's microphones actually that I want to like for phone calls. There's like headsets you can get that have like what do they call it? It's like a noise canceling microphone that blocks out all of the sound around you.
Hmm.
Um, what's the Jabra? I think
Hmm.
is the brand. Yeah, I want to get one. They're like $300, but they block out like all of the background noise. I'm like, man, that'd be awesome. Like to be on the phone talking to people and they can't hear all the crap that's going on in my house all day.
Yeah. I did a video with an old friend of yours, on Innovative Financials podcast, and I think he had those exact same headphones. And I'm sitting there in this studio, which is in the office, with these headphones on, and I'm like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever done. I can't hear anything but your voice in my head,
Yeah,
and I can't hear anything that's happening around us. But it's pretty darn cool.
yeah,
And then
yep,
the cool part is on those Sirius XM broadcasts where you'd think they're in a studio, but they're really in their home. They are live talking, but they're also talking to each other on Google Meets or Zoom, whatever they're using at that point. So, yes, they're talking to themselves in an empty room, but they've got the production staff on Zoom. They've got their co-host on Zoom too. So it's kind of like they're podcasting, except it's an actual radio show.
yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. So you were talking about buying leads, knocking doors, and I got a question for you to get your perspective on it because you've been in the business, you've trained people in the business. Say you've got an agent that comes to you, they've got their license or they're about to get their license, they've got a good background, you get a good conversation with them, but they're broke as a joke. Like they've got no money, but they're willing to work, they're willing to do what they're told. What do you do with that agent who's got the willingness to do it, but not a dime behind their bank account to be able to do it?
Well, I mean, if they're that motivated, I would assume that they could probably figure out a way to make at least one sale.
Mhm.
Whether that's talking to people that they know, family members, friends. I mean, heck, people on Facebook have 200 friends. I mean, I'm sure they could probably put something out there where maybe at least one person might be interested in doing some business with them. Uh, do it the hard way if you have to, even if you got to go knock on some doors, pick out a neighborhood where the houses are close together,
Mhm.
where I would say middle to low income area where you know that the need is there. I mean, if there's a will, there's a way. So if
Absolutely.
someone is that motivated, they're going to figure out a way. All it takes is one sale. Even if someone, I know we talked about being in like a sales slump and going back to existing policyholders, but if someone doesn't have that, if someone is to the point where they just have to do something, they'll figure out a way to make it happen. I mean, well, the first company that I did a lot of final expense business with, they financed leads, but I was over financed. I had too
Mhm.
much. I owed the company too much money. I kind of got into a sales slump, and at that point, it's like you have a decision to make. You can either quit and move on and go get your 9 to 5 job, or you can figure out a way to get out of it. I mean, I picked out a neighborhood and I just started knocking on doors. And I mean, yeah, that was hard, but being broke is harder. So
It
I
is.
would I mean, I would rather figure out a way to make it happen. And all it takes is that one person to let you in the house that says, "We were just thinking about this. I can't believe that you're here."
Yeah.
You make that sale, that gets you out of the slump, and now you earned a commission, and now you have money to buy some leads, and then you can turn that $600 commission into 3,000.
I think you may have said it. It may have been somebody else I interviewed at some point in the last few years. If you're going to cold door knock an area with a lot of houses real close together, let's call it the hood for fun, 100 doors per one application. Would you consider that pretty fair?
You know what? We've actually tried it where it's been a little bit less than that. Um,
Okay.
I would say about maybe 40 to 50.
Okay.
Uh, if you're knocking up and down the street,
Mhm.
if you knock on 40 or 50 doors, you should be able to make one sale.
Yeah.
If you're doing it right. Again, if the houses are close together and you can get a lot done, I mean, right there, I mean, I think anybody could probably knock on 100 doors a day easy. Like I said, that's the hard way. That's the hard way. It would also be good exercise, but um, I mean, heck, like I said, if there's a will, there's a way. And if you really want to make it happen, then you'll figure out a way to make it happen. Yeah, I'm going on 20 years doing this now. I mean, if it didn't work, I would have found something else to do by now, but not every day's been the best. I've had to do it the hard way. I've had to go out there
Mhm.
and knock doors and, do whatever's necessary to make a sale. But you just got to have that mindset, that focus. Like I said, even now when I'm out in the field, I'm so focused. That's all I'm focusing on is the next person I'm going to see and do whatever I can to make a sale. So and to make money. So
It's tough too when you're building, trying to build an agency, rebuild, continue to build, whatever verb you want to use. Um, Growing a culture with your agents to understand when we're training, when we're servicing, and when we're selling, and when not to text me about stuff that I can't, won't, and are not able to help you with right now. Like there comes a point where maybe you get a big enough team that you're not doing anything but sitting behind a desk. But I remember times where I would have an agent text me 11 o'clock on a Tuesday asking to have them resend for the third time their Prosperity Life contracting. It's nobody I know now. Nobody be offended if you're watching this and you think it's you. You're already out of the business, the story that this is about. And I say, I'm like, we do not handle this stuff right now. And I came off really rude probably, but I was selling. I'm running appointments. I'm knocking doors. I'm writing business to feed my kids. Like that override that you never produced off of me, I produced off of you because you never sold anything, wasn't going to pay for anything. Like there's a time and a place to work, and there's a time and a place to do other things. And I think a lot of people struggle to find that balance, even as a personal producer.
I think that I mean, I'll pay attention to how fast somebody sends a contract back to me.
Oh, so true.
If I send a contract to somebody and it takes them 2 months to fill out, are they really that motivated to go do
No,
business?
no.
Uh, I mean, I'll even when I send the contract, I'll be assumptive and just say thank you so much for taking the time to fill this out and get it back to me quickly.
Mhm.
Uh, Kind of so they know my expectations and hoping that they get that thing back quickly so we can get them going. But yeah, if they're taking 3 weeks to fill it out, how motivated are they?
How bad do they need it? Like,
Yeah.
if you don't need the contract to be able to write the business, do you even need the money to do the work? Because I think what we do is actually moderately difficult, at least mentally. And if you don't really need it, you're not going to overcome that barrier of how hard this is. So then it's never going to work out. Like, there are some people who really only need to make like 1,200, 2,000, 2,500 a month. And God bless them. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's your lead bill in this business, $2,000, $3,000 a month. And if you're not going to put in the work just to pay for your leads and then your life on top of it, it's okay to do something different, like you said about 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, it's not for everybody, but yeah, I mean, it takes money to make money. We talked a little bit earlier too about uh, being willing to bet on yourself, being willing
Mm-hmm.
to spend money on leads. And I know that's probably in your notes talking
It sure
about
is.
making sure to kind of plan ahead, put
Mm-hmm.
everything in order. And I kind of screwed up. I mean, I needed leads and I waited too long. I mean, I knew I needed direct mail leads. We're talking about like the beginning of December. Like I knew I
Mm-hmm.
needed to place some lead orders and I just kept putting it off. Christmas is coming around. I had leads to work at the time, but it's like you gotta remember direct mail leads are going to take a good 3 to 4 weeks at
Minimum.
least to
Yeah.
come in. So you have to plan ahead. And so yeah, I screwed up. I waited too long to order leads, and I kind of and I was on a roll. I was writing a lot of business,
Mm-hmm.
but I got to the point where then I just kind of started scuffling around a little bit, shuffling through leads, trying to figure out kind of where to go next because I was just kind of running a little dry
Yeah.
with the leads. So it's important to plan ahead. I mean, this past week I ordered 30 leads on Monday night, 11:30
Mm-hmm.
at night. And but these were Facebook leads. I also placed a direct mail lead order, but those direct mails are for like a month from now.
Yeah.
I also placed the Facebook lead order. So yeah, I mean, I had to invest quite a bit of money, two lead orders, one for now, one for the future. But you got to be willing to bet on yourself. Those Facebook leads, 30 leads was over $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
But Monday night, 11:30 at night, by 4:30 in the afternoon on Tuesday, they already started coming in. In the last 2 days, I've written over 4,300 in premium off of them.
Yeah.
So, uh, you got to be willing to bet on yourself. I mean, right there, I turned $1,000 into 4,000, and I still have probably about 15 more leads to work out of that batch. So, not a
Nice.
bad deal. I guess another point that I'd like to make there is just that if you're a brand new agent in the business, line yourself up with people that know what they're doing, whether that's me, whether that's Chris, whether that's
Mm-hmm.
somebody else that's been doing this a long time that knows the business. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. We can show you how to do this and we can teach you and, uh, show you what it takes to have long term success in the business where you're not just here one day and gone the next.
The business isn't that complicated, but the fact is that you need a specific system to do to be able to make it work. I like to equate our business a lot to fast casual or fast food restaurants. Like you could run a McDonald's with a captive company. You could run a Burger King with a captive company. You can go work at a Target for an independent company. Whatever franchise model you choose, just run their system and do exactly what they tell you and put the stove where it's supposed to go and say this when someone walks in the door. And when they want to audit your books and ask how your business is doing, be open to that level of helps and support. Like if you opened a Dunkin' Donuts and I walked in and you were selling Starbucks and Burger King mixed in with socks, it wouldn't make any sense at all to me. And I would never come back to your store. But when I go to a Dunkin' Donuts, either in Chicago, in Philadelphia, in Maryland, across the country, I expect the same level of consistency, results, quality, pricing, availability of items. Like whatever person you choose to work with, just do their system. And if they don't have a system, don't work with them.
I think having some sort of system in place is very important, especially if you're looking to build and grow. You want to be able to replicate yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I feel a heck of a lot more comfortable if I know the leaders that I'm bringing on that want to bring people on are kind of doing things the same way that I've taught them. Uh,
Hmm.
Again, it's all replication. If everybody's doing things the same way that I'm doing them, well, that means that they're writing good quality business that's going to stay on the books, and everybody's going to win. The agent's going to win, the client is going to win, and the carriers that we work with are going to win. Because
Yeah,
it's not like we're
absolutely.
just sending all of our junk business to one place and all of our good business to another. And those are just different things that I think that we can teach agents and kind of show them again long-term success. And if you're writing all your bad business with one company, they're not going to keep you around. They're not going to be an option any longer. I had
They're not going to be around
a
forever either.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I had a case last night. Husband and wife. Husband was in good health. I mean, I could have wrote him anywhere. The
Hmm.
wife, she was not in the best of health, and there was one company that I found that would insure her. Yeah, she was modified. She wasn't going to be covered right away, but I mean, she had a lot going on. I mean, she had congestive heart failure. She had a heart attack last year. She had 3 strokes not that long ago.
Poor
This
lady.
lady was messed up. So, but the husband, he was good. I wrote both those policies with that company.
Yeah.
And I kind of look at it this way, that that company will appreciate the fact that not only did I give them, a high risk policy, but I also gave them one that'll probably stick around for a while. And I think it's important to do that, to write a good mix of business with all of the companies.
Hmm.
Persistency matters, and quality of business matters. But that's really my goal when it comes to teaching agents is just that, to teach them to how teach them a system where everybody's going to win. The client, the agent, and the carriers that we're working with.
There's a concept called the three-legged stool. I'm sure you know it. If you're watching this and you've never heard it, this will be pretty cool to hear about. It's the relationship between you, the agent, the client you're sitting with, and the carrier that you're selling. It's all a three-legged stool. Like if one of those legs of the stool is not correctly there, you fall off the chair. What does that look like? Well, you're sitting there with a potential client and you got to decide, am I writing all like the carrier that pays me 30% more but is a dollar more? There's a balance there. There's a relationship between you and the carrier. Am I going to write a bunch of junk net spend card business all of this carrier, watch it all fall off, and then they pull their product because none of it ever stuck? Is it going to be, I'm going to abuse this carrier by pushing through stuff that might get through but probably won't, and then the actuarial system is broken and they pull the product because all you did is give them junk business? It's like all these little legs of the stool have a lot to do with each other, keeping everybody afloat. There's another good line: treat your favorite company as if it was your insurance company. I don't own a company, and neither do you yet. That'd be pretty cool. We'd all have our own great health insurance, but treat the company like it's your insurance company. And would you do this if it was your company? And if you have that level of filter and ethics behind what you do, you'll probably do better in business as well.
Most definitely. Yeah, I've just kind of seen it. Companies that have really good rates in certain scenarios where agents will only write that business with them. And
Hmm.
if let's say it's a modified rate, maybe there's a company and their rates are good just on modified. Well, then all these agents are just going to go that route when they want to write their modified business. But if that's all they're giving that company, it could end up really affecting them because, well, at the end of the day, that means that they're probably going to end up paying a lot more claims out. The life of the policy is not going to be long.
Hmm.
Uh, and yeah, what that leads to is companies raising their rates, making it more difficult for agents to do business with them, tightening
Pulling
up
out
on their
altogether.
underwriting.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, that's why my goal really is to teach agents how to write good business and a good mix of business with all of the companies that they're working with, because that will help with relationships. And I almost feel like it'll help too with having less agents doing more rather
Hmm.
than just having 1,000 agents to just write one app every month.
Yeah.
I would rather, to me, if you have less agents that are doing more, you're going to have better quality business and the persistency is going to be better. And the carriers are going to, enjoyed working together with you.
Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with having a smaller group of people doing more production than a bunch of bozos on the background that never did anything in the first place. Speaking of such, this is the time of year already, this part of the year where most people have already given up on their New Year's resolutions. They never implemented it. They've stopped doing it. Speak to an agent right now who really had good intended goals for the year, but is already off track. Like they have what it takes, a good system, good leads, good comp, someone there that cares about them, but they're watching this video thinking, man, it's just not for me. I'm going to go back, do something different. What would you say to that person?
Well, like I said, I mean, 20 years in the business, if it wasn't a good business, I would have found something else to do by now. I mean, you just got to figure out a way to get out of that slump. Yeah, I mean, we are what, 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks, almost
That's
2 weeks
it.
into the year. I mean, what, we got 50 more weeks of the year. I mean, we're
Yeah.
we're just a few minutes into the first quarter of the game. I mean,
True.
there's so much time. Um, I mean, look at that. What, about a month ago? I know you're not real big into football, but the Vikings Colts game, the Colts were losing, or I'm sorry, the Vikings were losing. It was like 35-7 or something,
Yep.
and everybody's like, "Man, looks like the Colts are gonna win. Looks like the Vikings are gonna, lose this one." I got all, because I have friends all over the country on Facebook. I see these people in
Oh yeah.
Indy talking about the game, and this was a Saturday game, and I remember I couldn't believe it when watching this game, and the Vikings ended up coming back. They won that game, I think, by like a field goal. And I guess what I'm trying to say is it doesn't matter how you start; it's how you finish.
It's true.
And it doesn't matter where you're at right now. You just got to remember it's going to get better as long as you're willing to get out there and make it happen. I mean, you got to have that willingness and drive to go make it happen. No one's going to do it for you.
No.
And as I said earlier, if you got to do it the hard way for a few days, well, go out there and do it. And I've cold door knocked neighborhoods, and you would think that you'd get a lot of doors slammed in your face, and it really isn't that way. Honestly, I probably had more positive experiences than negative. And a lot of times you're going to get well, we were just thinking about that, or we
Mhm.
just were at a funeral
Yeah.
and we saw how everybody had to pitch in because the person didn't have any insurance. Those are the sort of things. Or even if they don't need coverage, they're thankful that I stopped by to tell them about it. And they
Mhm.
might take my card. They might call me in the future. So, but yeah, I mean, cold door knocking, yeah, it's the hardest way to do it. And leads, of course, is the name of the game. But if you want to make it happen and you have that willingness and drive, you're going to figure out a way to be successful at this.
The best tagline you have from the video today, if you guys missed this, it's also right here written in scribble. Nobody is going to do it for you. No one's going to fill out the contracting for you. No one's going to submit your lead order for you. No one's going to encourage you to do what's necessary to buy the leads. Nobody's going to physically dress you and put you in front of a home and do the presentation for you, submit the application and verify it was paid. If it's to be, it's up to you. Like if you have a insurance license and you have a singular carrier appointment and you've got money that you need to make to pay bills, go talk to old people about dying. That's it. Like over the course of time, you'll develop a good presentation. Watch Adam's videos on his channel. I'm sure the link will be there to watch some of those. Watch some of the training videos I did at the lowest budget possible on this channel. Between his content and mine, with a little bit of effort and a lot of need, you'll make it work. It isn't that complicated. This is simply talking to old people about dying, solving a problem they know they have. And the beauty of our business is you sell a product that everybody that owns is going to use. And you sell a product that everybody needs. You just have to find them at the time they want it the most or create the want for them to purchase it when you're there sitting with them.
Yeah, when I bought $1,000 worth of leads the other day, I did not have one thought in my mind that I wouldn't make that money back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to be willing to do that. You got to be willing to invest in yourself and just go out and make it happen. Get off your butt. Just go do it.
Absolutely. The comment you made about the football game was great. My girlfriend's stepdad is a huge Vikings fan. I'm a baseball fan. I don't understand how there's football fans that don't live there, that are in other states. It's all cool. I don't get it. But he's absolutely screaming on the phone about this comeback and watching it take place. And it's pretty exciting to see a team that didn't give up and ended up coming back to win the game. That could just as easily be you in this business, if you're willing to do what's necessary to get there. I'll leave one more comment on leads today that we put in our notes that I wanted to make sure is said. When it comes to buying leads and investing in your business, two things are going to take place. When you buy leads, you either set yourself up for success, or when you don't buy leads, you set yourself up. You set yourself back. There it is. Set yourself up or set yourself back. And when you buy leads, all that you're simply doing is paying the rent to be in the business next week. That's all. And if you don't buy leads, Adam, agree or disagree with me on this before we wrap up today. You set yourself up on a 6-week to a 6-month clock where you'll simply be out of the business. Not buying leads starts a clock toward failure. Buying leads buys yourself next week in the business. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, you always got to be focused on next week, next month. You got to plan ahead. And like I said, I screwed up and I didn't do that. I'm back on track now, but you don't want to get to that point where you're shuffling around trying to figure out what you're going to do that day. You always want to have people to see. You always want to have leads that you can go work. And that's why it's just important to be consistent and don't worry about the money you're spending. Even if you got to put leads on a credit card, just make sure when you get your first commission that you pay the leads back.
Yeah. When I started in the business, I had a little bit of money saved that I said to myself, if I outright fail at this, at least I won't be homeless. And I opened up a no interest credit card that every week I would pay for the leads, but it allowed me the peace of mind to be able to buy the leads every week. And I never ran up debt. I just paid it off, but I bought the leads every week. I opened up the card. I had a buck saved and I made it work. Maybe you don't have a few bucks saved, but you can still make it work. If you believe in yourself and you believe in the person that you've, locked arms with to go to work with.
Exactly. So yeah, I think we've talked about it a lot. And there's a reason for that. I mean, I think a lot of this maybe is a bit of a broken record, but it's just the truth. And I think a lot of agents just need to understand that that's just what it takes. You got to buy leads. You got to be willing to go out there and do it. Listen to people that have done it a long time. If there was a better way to do it, we'd be doing it that way. So, get out there, get some leads. And again, like I said, if you're looking for people to line yourself up with, whether that's me, whether that's Chris, find somebody that's been in the business, that knows what they're doing, that's willing to help you, that can teach you how to have that long-term success. So you're not just here one day and then trying to figure out what to do the next.
Yeah, there's a lot of really successful people in the business. They don't do a ton of things differently from one person to the next. But they all have a set way that you can do it. And when you copy that, you find your way to the spot you deserve to be in. So be it me, be it Adam, be it somebody, invest in yourself, invest in what they're teaching you, and you'll make it. And again, broken record is okay because that means success leaves clues. And on the same token, failure leaves just similar clues as well. I'd love to do a video one day with you about all the failure clues that you've seen in agents, because I'm sure there's a lot of similar traits in that too.
Yeah, most definitely. I have some ideas that for next week. Yeah, I think we could talk about that. And I think maybe let's talk about keeping up with your business. It's one thing writing that business and getting paid, but let's talk about next week. Everybody be ready. That's what we're going to talk about, keeping up with your business. Because if you don't keep up with your business, well, then you're going out there and you have to make 2 sales to pay back a chargeback and still get paid. So, let's talk about that maybe next week, Chris.
Good topic.
Not only writing business, but keeping up with your business.
Good topic. Pardon the dog in the background. Hey, even on XM radio, it happens. Even in Adam's house, even over here across the country, the dog doesn't know when to wait, as we were just about to wrap the video anyway. Like the video, comment below on some failures that maybe you want to hear about, talk about, see our opinion on, maybe some sports information you'd like to hear about, maybe anything, because this is life, insurance, and everything in between that we're willing to talk about on our podcast together. Like, comment, and subscribe. Adam, thanks for being here, doing all the hard work to edit the videos. I have no freaking clue how to do that stuff. That's all over here on this side of the screen. Thanks for watching.
We're getting there. Thanks, Chris.